it's really our honor and pleasure to welcome you all today and to thank you for the valuable support and solidarity with Ukraine. This event has been initiated by the Ministry of Youth and Sports of Ukraine, by the European Commission, Directorate General for Education, Youth and Sports and Culture, and also European Executive Agency for Education and Culture. And we're really happy to be today work with you today on the very important topic, like supporting Ukrainian sports organization by cooperation partnership for international cooperation. And in fact, by this event, we would like to find more partners and the opportunities for close cooperation with Ukraine and to continue our work supporting Ukraine and the brutal invasion of Russia Federation of Ukraine. And as you might know, we are really living in the very hard times and challenging times in Ukraine. And there are a lot of consequences which influenced a lot also the sports sphere. And this event is critical even more for all Ukrainian organizations to find partners and the opportunities for close cooperation. With this, let me give the floor to the Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports of Ukraine, responsible for European integration, Mr. Andrei Chesnakov, to welcome the participants and to speak about the national policy and current needs in the sports sphere. Mr. Chesnakov, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Svetlana. And at the outset, I would like to welcome all the participants of the International Contact webinar aimed at supporting the Ukrainian sport. The Ministry of Youth and Sports of Ukraine expresses the gratitude to the co-organizers of this event, the European Commission, National Erasmus Plus office in Ukraine, the DG EAC of European Commission, European Executive Agency for Education and Culture, as well as National Olympic Committee of Ukraine and the Sports Committee of Ukraine. I would like to emphasize that despite the difficult year of the war, significant devastation and deaths among the Ukrainian people and athletes in particular, the Ministry of Youth and Sports does not stop work. We are working to broaden and strengthen international collaboration in the sports sphere, even under these very dire circumstances. Today's event is one of the results of the agreements achieved during this year Erasmus Plus Sport Info Day. We are very grateful to the partners who already cooperate with Ukrainian organizations, providing their assistance, sharing their experience and best practices, and definitely supporting Ukrainian athletes. I would like to emphasize that in our work, the ministry, as well as stakeholders in the sphere of sports, are working under the national strategy on the development of the sphere of physical culture of sports until 2028, which was developed together with our European and other international partners. However, we see today in these circumstances I clarified, it is a need to see the new ways, to see the new approaches for the development, first of all, of the sports for everyone, and as well as other practices, as well as the best to bring to Ukraine the best experience in the sphere of anti-doping, in the sphere of the gender equality, in the sphere of non-discrimination, because the sport, this is the way of life for many of those who are participating today, and they are also the members of their organizations and groups. So I would like to emphasize that the main aim of the Contact webinar today is to help Ukrainian organizations to match the EU partners, to find opportunities for cooperation, and what is very important, to apply together to new calls. Some Ukrainian participants already have experience in cooperation with European partners within Erasmus Plus projects, and we can confidently say that it has already brought Ukrainian society closer to the European way of life. I sincerely hope that today's webinar will be the starting point for launching new projects between Ukrainian and European sports organizations, exchanging their experiences and best practices. I do hope that for the next call for Erasmus Plus sports project, we would be, with your active participation in this call until the March 23rd, we will be able to present to the sports community, both of the European Union and Ukraine, some new ideas and some new ways how to develop this work. I thank you again very much, and I wish you all of us a good contact webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chesnakov, for the inspiration of all the participants, and also to strengthen our cooperation within the sports actions under Erasmus+. And I'm sure that the ministry would be contacted a lot by the potential partners soon in order to discuss the key priorities according to the strategies we have in youth and sports sphere. And then it would be a really profound justification to participate in different actions, and specifically the actions under sports activities. And the European Commission have been supporting Ukraine since the very first day of war, but already built a strong capacity of international cooperation, starting from the educational programs in 1993. And during this war, the brutal invasion of Russian Federation of Ukraine, there had been a lot of support just from the very first day. And it has been not only the support to individuals, but also the support to different projects and programs via different instruments. And Erasmus Plus has become also the instrument to respond to the key challenges, as well as to redesign some projects, current projects, to the needs and consequences caused by the war. And let me invite, and thanks, of course, the European Commission to this great support, and invite Georg Hausler, Director, European Commission, Directorate General for Education, Youth and Sports and Culture, DG EAC, Brussels. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much, Svetlana, and great hello from Brussels to all the participants. Minister Chesnakov, when we met a few weeks in Brussels and you launched this idea, I really didn't believe it was possible to put this in place in such a short notice and have this great event here today. So thanks to you, thanks to your initiative, and obviously also thanks to our colleagues here in the agency and in the DG EAC that this is possible. I think that's a real great event. Now, you mentioned it already, our collaboration, our in-depth collaboration with Ukraine is dating well before the war, but obviously the war has, I think, emphasized everything and put much more pressure on all of us to continue with this important work. Last year, remember in the European Week of Sport, when we had a special Ukraine event, and it was really beautiful to see how all representatives from all members of Erasmus Plus, how big the support was and how immediate the reaction was, and also how natural people really want to get engaged. But obviously, we said that before, but we will repeat it in every opportunity. We are impressed by you, colleagues from Ukraine, because, I mean, what you go through, I mean, undescribable, but that you keep up your spirit, that you are proactive, that you are constructive, that you are looking into the future, and that you are making plans and try to get into all the programs. I think it really shows the spirit, which we all should have in this difficult times. Let me maybe just one word say we have reacted in many ways, as you said, to the difficult situation. our commissioner has insisted to put in place a new Be Inclusive Sport Award. We call it Sport for Peace, and obviously no surprise that this is triggered by the situation in your country. We will have the first time in 23 this prize awarded, and I think it's something which we probably a few years ago, or even few months ago before the invasion of Ukraine, we didn't understand how present the horrible dangers of war are on the European continent and close to the European Union as well. And I think this prize should set a symbol that, you know, we are all fully aware, be we are in Portugal or in the north of Sweden or indeed in the Ukraine, that this is our problem and our conflict just as much as it is yours. I wish you really all the best today for this event. Get together. I think this is what this is. It's a platform. You should exchange. You should get contacts. And I think the great participation of all countries of Erasmus Plus shows that it will become a great success and the start of a activity which we are continuing in the coming months and years. Thanks a lot, and I wish you all the best for this event.
Thank you very much indeed, Gergosla, for your warm words and also for strong support and solidarity. And we really hope that there would be more opportunities open for Ukraine within youth and sports actions, like in the future, perhaps from the new call. And here, since all the program has three key pillars, education, youth, and sports, it's also a good opportunity for the cross-sectoral cooperation and also for more close cooperation between sports organizations, education organizations, but working also for the reforms in sports sector and youth sector together. And with this, I would like to give the floor to Floor Van Hout to speak about the EU priorities in the field of sports, which could be then again the justification of the cooperation within the proposals. We usually try during the events to keep to focus and to highlight the parts of the application ready for future success. So, Floor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Svitalina. Indeed, so my name is Floor Van Hout. I'm the head of the sport unit in DG Education and Culture. And let me also wish you all the best for Ukraine and hope that peace will return. And indeed, we are very impressed with your resilience and your focus. And also very impressed indeed that based on the minister's proposal for this contact seminar, that in so little time you managed to put this off. So we're very impressed. And while listening to the previous speakers, I already saw that in the chat, many people are very active, introducing themselves, seeing names from different countries, from Ukraine and from other European countries already introducing themselves. So hopefully this sets the good vibe for a fruitful networking and exchange. And as you already said, Svetlana, I'm here to give context, to describe what we're working on in our sport policy, because of course the sport policy and the program go hand in hand. And if I can say, the Erasmus Plus, the sport actions are probably the biggest and most powerful policy tool that we have. So indeed, considering what happens in the policy field is very precious when you're looking at preparing projects. So I have prepared a small presentation, which I hope can be shown. I think this is happening. Great, so we can go to the next slide instantly. Voilà, so just for you to understand what we do in sport in the European Union context, we are not organizing competitions ourselves or defining the rules on what merits a yellow or a red card. The role of our sport policy in the Union is what is called in technical jargon a supportive competence, which means that we are not regulating, but rather facilitating cooperation among the member states and also with the sport community, with sport federations, international organizations and other partners, in order to define common challenges, facilitate good practices, and stimulate learning from one another to all do better. So that is very much a reason for being. And we do that based on what we call triannual EU work plans for sport. And these plans are defined by the member states. And there we sketch out a number of key actions that we will work on around some priority themes. So now we can go to the next slide. You can see the current priority themes. So the current work plan is valid from 21 to 24, and it has 3 focus areas. That the first is protect integrity and values in sport. The second is socio-economic and environmental dimension. And the third is participation in sport, which is about encouraging people to be active, not to sit, but to move and take care of their health. And in each of these sections, if you would look at that plan, there is a number of sub-actions that are more concrete, that allow to contribute towards these three main goals. And also there is in the work plan an annex that goes a step further and already defines what will happen to make progress, either in the form of a study or an event, etc. So you can find in quite a lot of detail what the policy and the policy framework for this 3 years is actually about. So we can go to the next slide. The next slide just gives you some keywords on things that are currently important, of projects that are ongoing. We have a campaign running called Healthy Lifestyle for All. And later on in the presentations of my colleagues, you will see also that these priorities are reflected in the implementation of the partnerships and the projects that the colleagues will later on explain you more on. But Healthy Lifestyle is about a campaign to get people active and also to overcome barriers and to make sure that everybody is included. So it's not focused on one particular target group, but really to make sure that no matter what age, no matter your strength, you can moving, doing sport, being active is good for everyone. We also work on equality and inclusion, which has different aspects, of course. Gender equality is a very important topic because unfortunately, in most European countries the women are less active than men when it comes to sport. So, and this is not only in terms of participation, but we also see it in terms of coaching, in terms of leadership positions, etc. So we also have a special action plan to promote sport for women. Then green sport, I guess, doesn't need any introduction on why that is important. I mean, climate change and sustainability are global serious challenges that we have to work on. And of course, the sport community has to consider this as well and see how it can contribute to a sustainable future. And these actions have different aspects. For instance, we're looking at the impact of sport event, the mobility of fans, and or the use of plastic and disposable material in the catering stands and this kind of things. But we also look at sport practice in federations, in clubs, also outdoor sport, because in the end of the day, sport also relies on a healthy environment, a sustainable environment in order to practice. International cooperation, of course, very important. And I see very much that in sport, this focuses on cooperation with neighboring countries, including with Ukraine. So here today, we see in action what we try to do. And my director already mentioned the European Week of Sport, where we are very happy that all the neighborhood countries can participate on the same footing as the European countries together in this Big Be Active campaign. On innovation in sport, we will have a seminar coming up in May, where we will look particularly at the role of tech and digital, but also other forms of innovation, green innovation, sensoring, measuring materials that can benefit sport, on the one hand to jump higher and to run faster, but also on the other hand to allow people, for instance, with disabilities to control their health state and to practice sport in a safe way. And finally, we also work on good governance, which is actually quite a broad topic with many different aspects. But to capture this all in one umbrella term, but it includes, for instance, the fight against corruption or doping, but also representation, participation in sport governance, in sport federations, so that, for instance, the opinions of athletes are heard when larger decisions are being made. And we will also come back to that in our discussions later this year. We have a sport forum where we meet the sport community, and then, for instance, that will be an occasion where we will discuss together with them on what the principle of good governance are and what are the issues that should be addressed most urgently. Next slide, please. So here I put on the slide some of the activities, because as you remember, I said, legally speaking, we are facilitating cooperation for national policymakers and stakeholders in the field of sport. And stakeholders, you can take that very broadly. So it's not us who would define who is a stakeholder or not. But this, of course, are the sport federations, the Olympic movement, UEFA, for instance, but it's also smaller federations, but also governing bodies, Council of Europe, etc. It can be universities, it can be clubs. It's everyone who feels concerned by this in a way is of course welcome to benefit from the materials and the good practice that we produce. And we do that in different ways. And one method is working in expert groups together with member states, where we can really zoom in on certain topics that are important for us. For the moment, this is green sport, where we have an expert group that is actually looking very systematically at the problems and, more importantly, at solutions and good practices. And this group will, in a couple of months, be issuing its results. Then we also look at the recovery from the pandemic, which is, remember, this was set up in 2021, when we were hoping the pandemic was quick and short and we would look forward to the recovery. And of course, we all know that several crises have followed the recovery of the pandemic. So it's very much also a group that looks into how to cope with crisis, not only from the pandemic, but also in a larger sense, for instance, the war in Ukraine, but also the effects in terms of high energy prices and other insecurities. And then we had a group on gender equality, and there the results are actually available. The report is on our website, and it has a number of recommendations and quite concrete action-oriented recommendations. I already mentioned here and there these events, but we have always different big events. The sport forum is for the sport professionals, and this always happens in the spring. And this year it will be 2nd and 3rd of May in Sweden. Sweden is currently the president of the European Union, and so we go to Stockholm for that event. And then we have the European Week of Sport, which is happening all across Europe in a wider sense. So not EU, but Europe in its broad sense. And Ukraine is one of our partners in the week. And there the week is really to allow everyone to be active, to discover new activities, how to do sport, enjoy it. And maybe if the level of enthusiasm goes down, then the Week of Sport aims to bring up the energy levels again. And then there are many other conferences and seminars that we organize or involved in on specific topics. Then further, we work on studies and data collections. The list of studies that we do is in the work plan for sport, but one important study we did last year is on the EU sport model, the principles and how it's affected by new developments and how it can continue to put in practice its principles against the backdrop of big changes such as internationalization of sport or changes in media and broadcasting. The Eurobarometer, we'll come back to that in a minute, is a survey that actually measures the activities across Europe and also looks at the different levels of activity and drivers for why to be active or not across different age groups. And then finally, we also hand out actually 8 awards that aim to put in the spotlight people and organizations that are really practicing what we hope will happen to the sport policy. And as my director already mentioned, this year we have this new category, Sport for Peace, that will be handed out in May. We can go to the next slide, please. This is very briefly another way in which we realize our policy goals is also by working together with major sport organizations. And this is formalized with the European Olympic committees as well as with UEFA. And if you're interested, there's also, we can provide the arrangements, set the scene for what we're working on together with those organizations so that we have a common understanding of what the values are that we like to put in practice and where those come together, we work together, we look for common occasions where we can both promote those activities, for instance, working with young people or working on inclusion. But let's move on to the next slide. This is another way of working together, very much focusing on regions, cities, universities, organizations active at not necessarily at national policy level, but more at regional level. And this year is a network that allows discussion to see how to secure EU funding for regional policies, how to work together to set up European partnerships and to what kind of funds would be the right ones. So we support them in terms of capacity building, networking, cooperation. And there are also a number of background papers being produced, for instance, on green sport or on architecture and sport to understand different EU funds and what they can do in the field of sport. So this can also be a useful source of information, and these background papers are available online. So if you're interested, these are very useful references also about EU funding. Today we talk about Erasmus+, but there are other funds that could be useful for sport, and those funds are explained in the papers of this sharing initiative. And sharing, insofar the information is public, of course, you can go and check, but if you have more higher interest, you can also contact us and we're happy to provide you more information. Next slide, please. Then here, this is the Healthy Lifestyle for All campaign that I already mentioned a little bit earlier. And that really tries to mobilize people to be active, but not only focusing on sport, but also trying to see cooperation with other organizations, NGOs, universities, health professionals, to focus really on the value of sport and physical activity for the purpose of health and healthy lifestyles. So we're also looking into focus group that are less active and how we can bring them in. Maybe it's a question of money or a question of fear or lack of confidence. And then how can we overcome such problems? And we're also proactively reaching out to health and research, agriculture, professionals, to make sure that also these efforts are connected to healthy diets, for instance, and also making use of the latest knowledge. Just to name one example, we also cooperated with colleagues working on environmental policy And they have provided us with an app that you can check about the air quality in your surrounding, knowing if you have problems with your health, whether it's safe to go out and do exercise because of the air pollution, for instance. And there, again, the link is here on the slide, so we will share this, of course, and you can check it out further on our website. Let's move on. Yes, I will finish now with just showing you a snapshot of our Eurobarometer survey that gives information about the level of activity in sport across Europe. And this slide is really just the European average. So we ask, how often do you exercise or play sport? And so we see that Europe-wide, 45% says never. So this, of course, is for us in our policy an alarm bell that way too many people are not active. And this is just an average. So this is the European average, men, women, all countries, all ages. And behind that average figure of 45%, there are big divergences because we know that men are more active than women, younger people are more active than seniors. In certain countries, there is more cultural sport than in others. And so you can guess that among certain of those target groups, the level of physical activity is far lower than the figure that you see here. And through the link, you can actually find all those data to see how the variations are, which target groups are most affected, and seeing certain trends that are valid for the whole of the European Union. It's my guess, but it's only a guess, that probably some of those realities are also relevant for Ukraine. Let's move on. And we also ask, but there are many questions. I would need 2 hours more if I would go to the whole Eurobarometer. So I just picked up these few. But we also ask, for instance, why are you active? And then most people actually are active in sport for health and fitness reasons. But there are many other things. Now, on the last slide, this is just one opportunity I wanted to very briefly mention. My colleagues will soon after explain all the other Erasmus Plus programs, but since they're not in charge of this particular action, I take the pleasure of showing you this opportunity. With one important caveat, that for benefiting for the moment for learning mobility, one has to be a resident of an EU country, not a national. So for instance, Ukrainians who are now residing in the European Union because they had to be displaced because of the war, they would be able to benefit from this action. This is new, so of course, hopefully also in the years to come, this could be of interest to you. And this allowed coaches to actually do job shadowing or assignments abroad on an individual basis, in the same way as we have the Erasmus exchanges for students. And so this will start this summer. So it's just an announcement. If you want to know more about this action, or if you want to alert people you know who may be interested to benefit from those mobility experiences, we're also happy to give you more information. So I'll end here. I hope this was a useful overview. And if it triggered any questions here, you have our website and my email address, and you're more than welcome to contact me to ask for more information if that is needed. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Hout. It's absolutely inspiring for the new ideas, starting from the priorities of cooperation and opportunities for cooperation. And in fact, like Erasmus has been always an instrument to implement strategies, to implement reforms. That's a really quite good start already for all participants to think about the ideas for the projects, and also then to be more active during the networking session. And thank you very much indeed for this additional information, like the new opportunities for the individuals who were fled from Ukraine during war, just looking for the safety. And it gives the opportunity, in fact, not only for the individual development, but also with the institutional impact. So if, for example, your coaches or your colleagues working in sports sphere are currently abroad, please, not good word, but use this opportunity to, with them, not only to benefit from this job shadowings and the traineeship, but also to make new contacts and to think and write maybe new proposals. So to apply for then for these Erasmus actions or also for other international programs. So just use, again, this opportunity to think more broadly, not only at the individual level, but also the institutional and thus national and country level. Thanks a lot. It has been extremely helpful, and we will promote this opportunity widely as well. It would be great also to contact our national agencies to find the opportunities within different countries and also the procedures, how to apply by individuals to these opportunities. I'm sure that we'll do it together with our partners, like also from the ministry and from Olympic Committee and from all the sports federation. Thanks a lot. And it gives me also the great pleasure to finalize the first session, but with the additional very important speech of the cooperation opportunities and specifics for Ukraine by the European Executive Agency of Education and Culture. And it has been a strong cooperation already for many years, and support from the agency provided to Ukraine, and specifically in sports. Since 2014, Erasmus Plus opens the opportunity for sports organizations to join the collaborative partnership and small collaborative partnership, and to become a part of the Be Active and European Weeks of Sport. And that's give us the opportunity to win around 12 projects in this action. And it's a great pleasure to give the floor to Ivla Lostek, head of unit Erasmus Mundus and Sports, to talk about these opportunities. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. And so, dear colleagues, dear friends of sport, so I was just introduced as the head of the sport and Erasmus Mundus unit in the executive agency. So in this capacity, I have the pleasure and the responsibility to be responsible of the implementation of the sport budget of Erasmus+. First of all, I would like to thank Minister Chesnokov for his initiative, which de facto took place very quickly to organize this seminar. So it was a great pleasure to cooperate with you, Minister, in the organization of this event, which I hope will be very useful, at least with our colleagues from the agency and with EAC. We will do our best to satisfy your demand. We are always happy in the agency to communicate about our program and to explain to the sport family, and you are a strong part of the sport family, to explain to the sport family how we can help and how we can provide financial support to good projects. And I would say here, in particular in Ukraine, because we have already a number of Ukrainian partners, as you mentioned, Svetlana. I have the pleasure, by the way, in my past capacities, I had the pleasure to visit Ukraine and to speak to some Ukrainian stakeholders, and some of them are in the room, so I say hello to them. So we have already a number of Ukrainian partners, and we would like to have even more. Possibilities are not unlimited, as you will see, but they exist, and this is what I'm going to explain you. I will be assisted in my presentation by my colleague Isabella, who can move now to the second slide. Before commenting this slide, I would say one or two general things about the Erasmus Plus program as a whole. First of all, the Erasmus Plus program, you know it very well, now covers sport. This is not new. This dates back to 2014, but it's very important to underline it because Erasmus is well known as a higher education brand, but now Erasmus and Erasmus Plus is much more than that. And now sport organizations, sport projects can benefit from the help from Erasmus Plus. So this dates back to 2014. And now we are under the second generation of Erasmus Plus, covering the period 2021-2027. The two additional general remarks I would like to make on this program is that first, the fact that it's a multi-annual program ensures security in the funding. This means that every year we will have some budget for sport. We are sure that in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, till 2027, there will be budget for sport. And beyond stability and security, this budget is increasing every year. So we know already that next year we will have more than this year, and in 2 years we will have more than in 1 year. So we will have more and more budget till the end of the program. The last thing, the last general remark is that at the very beginning, Erasmus Plus Sport part of the program was not so open to international cooperation. When I speak about international cooperation, it's international cooperation beyond the EU, because there was not so much budget. Now we have more budget, we have more possibilities, and there are new political priorities. And that's why this Erasmus Plus program and the Erasmus Plus Sport part of the program in particular has become much more open to the participation of countries which are not part of the EU. And this is what we are going to comment here. So now coming to this slide, one basic rule or idea of the Erasmus Plus program is that we made distinction between Erasmus Plus countries which are not associated in the program. The distinguish is made between EU member states and third countries associated with the program, and those which are not associated to the program. And Ukraine is a third country not associated to the program. This limits possibilities. This doesn't close possibilities, of course, and because this is the subject of this seminar, but this limits possibilities. There are actions in the Erasmus Plus program which are open just for EU countries or countries associated to the program, but there are others which are open to countries not associated to the program, including Ukraine. So the legal base is there, the possibility is there, and our aim today is really to explain you about what is possible and to help Ukrainian organizations to join in if they so wish. Let's move to the next slide. This is just to explain the basic structure of Erasmus Plus. There is one specific category, which is a Jean Monnet action. I will not speak about it. And there are basically 3 key actions in the Erasmus Plus program. One is about mobility. It's key action 1. It's in our jargon, I would say. The second one is key action 2, the most interesting for our discussion here, which is cooperation among organization and institution. And the third one is more about policy cooperation. But the most interesting here is the second part of this action, the key action 2, because this is where we can support Ukrainian organization. So this is what I'm going to comment today. In this key action 2, there are actions which can be supported in the field of sport. There are basically 4 actions, just one if of interest for Ukraine, because you can just benefit from this possibility. It's the first one, and this cooperation partnership in the field of sport. I just mentioned the 3 others. There are small scale partnerships, which are small projects, there is a capacity building project in the field of sport where we can finance mainly projects of cooperation with the Western Balkan countries, and we can also finance events. So just one action is accessible for Ukrainian organizations as partners, but it is the biggest one because you will see the figures later. The call for 2023 is which has been launched, represent 59 million euros, more or less, and 39 million are in this first category of cooperation partnerships in the field of sport. So this means that 2/3 of the budget is accessible to Ukrainian organizations. So let's move to the next slide to explain what is a cooperation partnership. So the basic idea of a cooperation partnerships is to increase the organization's capacity to, this is Commission's wording, but to operate jointly at transnational level, of course, around sport and physical activities projects. So it's a project, an international project of cooperation, where we must have a minimum of 3 partners from 3 different countries. And of course, this is where Ukrainian organizations, sport organizations, universities, schools, NGOs, whatever, can join. So the duration of the project is between 12 and 36 months. And in order to be selected as a project, you must at least cover one horizontal priority and one specific priority. I will say some words about this in the next slide, but in any case, all these points, which are very important, will be developed by my colleagues in the second part of the program. So I was just saying that you must at least cover one of the horizontal priorities and one of the specific priorities. What are the horizontal priorities of the program? These horizontal priorities are priorities which concern all fields of the program: education, training, youth, and sport. And these are, let's say, top priorities for the EU. One is about inclusion and diversity. One is about the defense and the promotion of values, common values, civic engagement and participation. The third one is about digital transformation. And the fourth one is about environment and fight against climate change. These are the key priorities of the program, the 3 horizontal priorities. And if we submit a project, you must at least have some action or orientation in one of these categories, and then tick one of the 4 boxes. And you must also, and let's go to the next slide, you must also cover one of the specific priorities in the field of sport. And this is, very well, because this is our field of work and action. And we have 4 specific priorities for sport. One is about encouraging healthy lifestyle for all. Globally speaking, it's about the promotion of sport and physical activity for everybody. The second one is about integrity and values in sport, including battles or fights that you know very well, concerning fight against doping or match fixing, such subjects. The third one is about promoting education in and through sport, including coaching. And the fourth one is about promoting equality and European values. So in the field of sport. So you must also correspond to tick to one of these boxes and correspond and work on one of these priorities, which is, and you will notice that this is very broad. There are very little problems or issues in sport which are not covered by the program. So I think it's relatively easy if you have a good project to enter into one of these categories. So let's move to the next slide, and this is the comment I was making concerning the budget. What is of interest for Ukraine and Ukrainian organizations is the first category, so these cooperation partnerships in the field of sport, which is the most important in terms of budget and in terms of impact, because we have exactly 38.6 million, which will be open to projects under the current call, and so one where the deadline has been fixed in 2 weeks on the 22nd of March. And then we have more limited budget on the three other actions, so 10.5 million concerning the small projects, 9 million for event, and 1 million for this specific action in Western Balkans, capacity building in the field of sport. So this makes a global budget of 59 million. So let's move to the next slide, just to illustrate what Svetlana was mentioning some minutes ago. At the very beginning of the program, it was again the EU was a little bit less open to international cooperation. You will see that in 2015, 16, 18, just one Ukrainian project was involved in a partnership, and things have started to move in 2019 and 2020, where we had 4, then 5 organizations involved in projects. Let's move to the following slides, and just to show you an example of the last figures and concerning the project 2021-2022, you can see that more and more organizations from different non-EU and non-program countries are participating, and Ukraine over this period covers 7 projects, and we hope that in the near future the situation will still continue to involve. Let's move to the last slide of my presentation. So I have just given you really the main characteristic of the program and some of the main ideas that you must have in mind when considering applying. Now, in the second part, some of my colleagues will be there to speak about you in much more detailed way about the priorities and sub-priorities of this program, about the structure of the projects, about the funding rules, about the eligibility and award criteria, about how to register. And also, I know that it is one of the key reasons of this seminar is how to find projects. They will explain you also about the next steps of the 2023 Erasmus Plus Sport call for proposals, and also to tell you, because we are all members of the selection committee. All of my colleagues are members, and I am too. What is expected from a project, and what is expected if the project is selected. So my final words will be to say you first, if it is your aim to apply this year, really to be to have the deadline in mind, and 22nd of March at 17 o'clock, and my colleagues will tell you that 5 minutes after it's too late. So we are. Yes, we have rules that we have to implement, so really be careful about this date. So you have 2 weeks to think, to finalize your thinking about the possible applications, if you can be ready in this time, and I hope some of you will be. If you are ready, that's perfect. If you are not ready, I just wanted to tell you that this what I'm presenting you this year will be more or less the same next year and in 2 years. More or less every year, we have the same roadmap. We launch a call before winter. We have some deadlines in, depending on the year, February, March, April. Then there is a selection phase that my colleagues will explain. So more or less, it's always the same calendar. So if, let's consider that you are not, some of you are not ready, there will be other changes. So from time to time, it's good to really take some distance and really prepare seriously a project rather than running in order to present something quickly. Just think about it. It will certainly not be the last chance. The very last thing I will say is that now I'm going to leave you in very good hands. So some of all our best experts, by the way, in the agency are there with you today. I'm sure they will be able to answer to 95% of the question you will have. If not, there is one guy who knows everything. The 5% remaining is Luciano Di Fonso, who will the best expert you can have in Erasmus Mundus, in Erasmus Plus. So you will be in the second part in very good hands. So thank you again for having organized this seminar so quickly, and we are really here to help and to accompany you in your application. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed for your details and insights from the program and from the opportunities. And in fact, I would say that you know the bravery and the inspiration of Ukrainians already. Just under these extreme circumstances, working and applying also for different actions under Erasmus+. And we would say that the 1st March last year, when there was already the escalation at the very beginning all over Ukraine, and there was no safe place, but still our organizations and universities were able to apply for Jean Monnet actions, providing more than 200 applications. And it's like also being very short in time and with all the challenges. So we are sure that there would be some applications this year still for the action we are going to communicate today. And there would be even more cooperation furthermore after this event and strengthening the networks between Ukrainian sports organizations and other organizations, organizations working in sports action, and also the organizations from EU member states. Thank you very much again, and for your team, also for all the support you provide. And we hope, and actually we are sure that there would be another very good conference or the workshop organized in Kyiv after the victory, and you would come again. We do remember the previous experience, and it was really very much successful. Thanks a lot for your support. And thus, we have like 1 minute left for the questions and answers, but we were following the chat, and there were no specific questions for the first part. And if you do not mind, if we just go to the next part of the session, and after it, we would have a little bit of time for the questions, because I'm sure that for the majority of questions, you would receive the answers during the second part. If there is no objection or any urgent question, which I do not see in the chart or the raised hand at the moment.
No, Svetlana, we do not have any additional questions, so we can move forward.
Thank you, Katya. And so we are going to the practical session on how to write successful proposals with the partner countries under this cooperation partnership action in sports. And in particular, this is usually the tremendous difficulty to understand what is this value added, how it should be justified then to be funded. And I would like to give the floor for further moderation to a fantastic colleague. We have been known each other, I don't know even from which time. It's get back to Tempus time. And Luciano Di Fonso, Deputy Head of Unit Erasmus Mundus and Sport. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Svetlana. By the way, I think that your first name in Ukrainian language is like mine, you know, the female. So we are the the same first name. It's true that we know each other since the Tempus time. Thank you also to all our colleagues and participants to be today together, especially for the part of the Ukrainian colleagues to organize in a very short time this event that is very important also for us, that show the intention, our say, commitment to assist the Ukrainian sport organization. And thanks for also the organization coming from the Erasmus Plus program countries, because your, of course, role is very important today in the future to support the Ukrainian colleagues. As it was mentioned, and so we have exactly, we will present now the concrete opportunities for the Ukrainian sport organization, the current, if I can say, current opportunity, because of course, as mentioned, we are working together with EACEA and also with the Ministry of Sport and Youth to try also to increase the participation of Ukrainian organization in the Erasmus Plus, in particular in the sports chapter, that we really hope that for the next call, we can have also further opportunities, in particular for what is the capacity building action and other possibilities. As you see, the program is divided so in three parts, if we can see. One is related to the presentation of cooperation partnerships. Then we have how to participate, a very technical also aspect we think is important. And also what next, if you are selected, what you have to do in terms of engagement, is in particular for the Ukrainian organizations. I think that at the end of each section, if I can say, we'll have some times for questions, so don't hesitate to write questions in the chat with the colleagues from Ukraine. We will try to read and reply. And I leave now the floor to my colleague Isabella, which will be now managing this part of the section. Isabella, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Luciano. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here with you. And together with my colleague Vincenzina Vinci, we will provide you with some more details as already introduced. I will try to share my screen again, and I hope that this attempt will work. If not, we will ask Katya to kindly take over as she already did. Please let me know whether you can see the presentation.
Yes, everything's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the agenda has already been introduced to you. We will not go through it. We will start with a bit of a general introduction to the cooperation partnerships. We will present it mainly from the partners' perspective, but there is some information that is relevant to everyone. So you will also get a piece of that as well. Here, a general slide. You know, we will be talking on about the cooperation partnerships mainly. There is the notion of countries not associated to the program. Ukraine belongs to those countries, and such countries can participate in the cooperation partnerships. There is another little exception to the participation, and those are capacity building projects. But for the moment, the capacity building projects are aimed at so-called Region 1, and you have here these countries mentioned. So only these countries, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Kosovo, that are also not associated to the program, can participate in the capacity building. This is a small part of Erasmus Plus so far. Last year we had 4 projects, so we are not going into that, but this is only for your clarity and general understanding of Erasmus Plus sport. The objective of the cooperation partnership is really to allow the organizations to increase their participation in the transnational projects in sports. Yes, through the enhancement of their qualities, through the improvement of the relevance of their activities, through boosting the networks of partners that they have, And this way they can also improve their international presence. And here really there is also an expectations that results of the projects, for example, would be shared at local, regional, national, or even transnational level. In the plenary session, you were presented with the priorities in the field of sport, and here a few more words on the specific priorities. As you could see, one of them is the encouraging healthy lifestyles for all. What does it mean in particular? It could be that your project is implementing the Healthy Lifestyle for All initiative, that you are implementing the EU physical activity guidelines, that you support the implementation of the European Week of Sport, the promotion of sport and physical activity as a tool for health, then the promotion of all activities encouraging the practice of sport and physical activity. And sometimes we are confronted with questions whether a particular activity could be considered sport. So for example, can dance be considered sport? And then of course, here you would have the answer. If you are promoting the exercising of physical activities, then it could be also falling under here under these priorities. Then promotion of traditional sport and games and intergenerational sport. You heard about the integrity and values, not much left to say here. We were talking about combating doping and match fixing. Also on the positive side, on improving the good governance and promoting the positive values of sport, such as fair play, etc. Then you heard about promoting education in and through sport. And here that concerns the supporting development of skills, also encouraging dual careers of athletes, promoting the quality of coaching, and promoting employability through sport. And the last one was promoting equality and European values in and through sport. Here, this also refers to gender equality. It refers to using sport as a means for peace and inclusion, and values of non-discrimination on any ground. We will talk a little bit about the eligibility and award criteria that refer to all the projects. They are important, and here the eligibility criteria are those that are judged, that refer more to formal requirements and are judged before the project can actually be assessed to its merits. Yes, so before you might have a very well-written project and ambitious one, but it will not be evaluated and scored if you do not meet the eligibility criteria. So do not take them lightly. And the eligibility criteria refer to such issues as who can apply, the priorities that are addressed, in which venues the activities can take place, what is the duration, where you apply, and when. So here you have already heard that you need to have countries belonging to the Erasmus Plus, so either EU member states or third countries associated to the program, and we need at least 3 of them. And then we also can have organizations established in a country not associated to the program. The difference is that the organizations that are based in the countries not associated to the program can participate as partners, but not as leaders of the project. Yes? So if you are coming from a Ukrainian organization, you can very well be involved and benefit of the project, but you will not be submitting the project, and you will not be acting as a coordinator. Here we said we need at least 3 3 and then plus further organizations. Yes, so the countries not associated to the program do not count to the minimum. It will not be sufficient to have 2 EU member states and then Ukraine as a third one, for example. You need to have 3 and then you can join such partnership. The duration is between 12 and 36 months. The 36 is a maximum, yes? So if it happens that you have a shorter project and it needs to be extended later for whatever reasons, it is possible as long as you don't go beyond the 36 months. And then when it comes to the venue, all the activities should be taking place in the countries involved in the project, yes, including the countries not associated to the program. So here there is no restriction. And if you meet the eligibility criteria, you will be then confronted with the award criteria and the scoring. So actually the proper evaluation of the content of your project. And what are the award criteria? I hope you can see it here. In any case, we will circulate the presentations afterwards so that you can confront and read it in peace. We have 3 main criteria, but actually 4, counting the sub-criteria. The first one is the relevance of the project, and this means, is the project relevant to the priorities and objectives of the program? Yeah, the objectives and priorities that were just presented a few moments before. Then are the organizations participating in the project relevant? Is the project innovative, and is there an EU added value? And then we are talking about the quality of the project itself and the quality of the partnership. For the quality of the project here, we say, how was the project designed? Is it clear and realistic? Sometimes we see very ambitious projects, but it is actually obvious that the ambition goes too far and they are not realistic. And then instead of having high scores for the ambition, you might receive less for not being realistic enough. Your methodology should be clear, adequate, and feasible. Your actions should be cost effective, and about the way we look at the costs, we will talk in a moment. You should have some quality control and monitoring and evaluation mechanism in place. So how do you actually make sure that the action is implemented as it should, and what you do if something goes wrong? Are you using or developing digital tools, and is your project eco-friendly? And then we have the criterion to which I already heard Svetlana making a reference today, and before we also heard some questions on that, the quality of the partnership and the cooperation arrangements. So what the Erasmus Plus program says is that you can have organizations established in countries not associated to the program participating in the project if they bring an added value. And this would be the place to justify the added value that you might bring. And what this exactly means, it really depends on the project that you are having. Yes, this would mean, for example, that you are bringing the necessary expertise. It would be difficult to say something in general because you have to refer to a project. Let's say there is a project on regional dances, since we already mentioned dance before. And if you have an organization that is implementing, is actually active in this field, then you clearly bring this expertise there. So it depends what type of project you have and which organization you match with which type of project. There might be certain expertise that you possess that is not available to the partners, to the other partners participating in the project. And then you step in and you are bringing this expertise there. So it would really depend on a particular case. We are looking there also whether there is an appropriate mix of organizations and whether newcomers are involved. So the Erasmus program guide says that the actions should involve newcomers, and that means organizations who have either no experience or very little experience in the program. Obviously, if you have only newcomers, it would not play in your favor because you might not know very well how to manage EU-funded projects, but an appropriate mix of organizations that are experienced and less experienced would bring an added value already. And we would look at the role that the partners are playing. Yes, so all the partners should be involved because they bring something particular to the projects. When, for example, you would have 2 EU member states involved and then a country not associated to the program, and you would say, let's bring a 3rd country from the EU member states to make up the minimum, and that country or that organization would have no role, this will also not play in your favor. Yes, so it's important to think over how the partners will match in a given project and what kind of role they will play to build up the entirety of the action. And then we also look at impact, so the further use of the project results, the dissemination of the project results, will they be made available after the project has finished? Will they be shared with the communities? How will they impact on the participating organizations and also on the communities in which the project is anchored? So this would be on the award criteria. We can come back to this during the questions and answers if you have some particular then observations. One more slide on the consortium, because we were talking a lot about the partnership. So when you think about the consortium, think always about the first, the eligibility criteria. Are there the 3 member states or Erasmus Plus program countries involved, and then you can join. And then there is the award criteria. So once we have the minimum, is our partnership manageable? Is it trustworthy? Is it of a sufficient size? Is the operational capacity there? If there is no operational capacity in a given area, perhaps we can look for another partner that has this capacity because it has already been active in a field. Do we have enough experience when we pull together all the partners? Yes. Is there the profiles of the organizations? Do they match the objectives of what we want to implement, basically? And when you have thought about all this, this is how your project will be scored. It will be only scored in line with the award criteria. So other aspects will not be taken into consideration for the scoring. Here you can see 25 for relevance, 30 for the quality of the design, 20 for the quality of the partnership, and 25 for impact. And we have a double threshold. You need to receive at least 50% for each of those criteria, and then at least 60 points in total. Yes, this is so-called the quality threshold. If you are below any of those 2, you will not, your project will not go through. And when you receive a letter that states the results of the evaluation at the end of the procedure, you will also be informed about the scores that your project obtained for each of the criteria, yes, so that you can perhaps improve and submit an improved project next year if you happen not to be selected. The projects are usually divided, or they have to be divided into work packages. In the work packages, you would always list the deliverables of the work packages, and this is very important. you need at least one deliverable per work package. What is a work package? Work package would be an entirety of activities that fit into a logical frame. Let's say we could have a work package on dissemination. We could have a work package on a given competition that we are organizing. We can have a work package on project management and monitoring. Those are quite repetitive work packages, and then depending on your on the type of your action, you can have other work packages as well. But each of the work packages should have a deliverable. The deliverable could be a particular report that you are producing, for example. It could be a video. Sometimes you are producing guidelines that are then translated into other languages and can also be used, etc. And an important notion of lump sums. For a while already, the Erasmus Plus sport actions are funded via a lump sum. And what that means, it means that you have to select a certain amount of money for which you are applying. You have to see how much your work packages would cost and how much each of the participating partners would need to spend for that work package, but you do not provide a detailed cost calculation. Yes, so it is really not that much about each and single cent spent, but what you are implementing and then the proportion of the cost that is necessary for that. You will have to describe the activities and also the effort that is necessary, and the effort is measured in man days, so how many hours or how many days or how many months a particular organization would devote to an activity. I think we have covered here all the information there. Now about the lump sums again. In the cooperation partnerships, we have three types of lump sums: 120,000, 250,000 and 400,000 euro. So when you look at your project, you would be asked to choose one of those lump sums for the entire project. Yes, there is no other possibility to apply for 150,000, for example. If you see that your project would cost 150,000, then better scale it down and apply for 120,000. Or if you have such opportunity, really scale it up then and apply for 250,000. But those are the available amounts at that moment. So you would need to see what is the most appropriate to cover your needs. We were also asked at some point whether you need to bring any co-financing, etc., if you have participated maybe in other projects or in the past. So the lump sums are calculated in a way that they already include the notion of co-financing. So you would need to probably also add from your budget in the methodology of the lump sum, but you will not be asked in the project to present your own share. Yes, like you might be used to in some other types or in the past projects. Here again, the rules in a nutshell. So you first select the lump sum for the entire project. You divide it then per work package. You will see whether probably the implementation of the event itself would take more of the funds and then dissemination less, and then project management maybe in the middle, but you would need to see what really you intend to do for each of the work packages. And then you would need to estimate the budget per work package and per beneficiary. Of course, in a way that is appropriate, yes, so that satisfies the principles of economy, efficiency, effectiveness. This is also scored when we are looking at the award criteria that we just presented. The cost efficiency is also assessed. And then focus on results and outputs rather than on financial elements. So this is again to stress that it is most important is what is the quality of what you are producing. what is the quality of your deliverable, and really quality, not a quantity. Yes, we would like to stress here, sometimes we see projects with 17 work packages and 36 deliverables. The applicants think that the more they put, the higher scores they will receive, and this is not true. This is really not true. The numbers should be appropriate, and sometimes less is more. So think it over, think it through, have less deliverables, but of better quality if possible. And then you will enumerate the list of deliverables per work package here. Just a little alert, if you want to produce as a deliverable, for example, a video or any document that contains personal data, you have to be very careful that these deliverables are not made public. This is for the next stage, but we are already alerting you because it's this a repetitive issue. And this is just on one slide. All these words that I have been uttering here, you can see in one slide. You have a project with 3 deliverables. There should be more organizations, but you wouldn't be able to read anything if I put more organizations. So we have 2 organizations, and then per work package and per organization, there is a certain amount indicated, and not more than this. Yes, so here you have the dissemination, you have the organization that will disseminate the project results and will need for the dissemination 150,000 euro. And then you will say what kind of deliverables you will produce, but you will not say how much it will cost. Yes, you don't need to say that for one report you will have this amount, and then for translation this amount. No, only a general estimation. And then when you are reporting, the same principle applies. Yes, the lump sum that you are being awarded is the maximum amount of the grant. If you have produced what you intended to produce, the deliverables were submitted, you implemented the work package, you will receive the final amount. We will not ask you for invoices or any detailed reporting on the payment. It doesn't mean you don't need to keep them. Probably for your own accounting, you will keep it anyways. But to us, you will not be requested to report on your detailed cost. Here we arrived at the end of this first session. If you have any questions and answers, please feel free. I will mute myself because I think I have really spoken enough.
You cannot switch off the microphone. So, dear participants, if you have any questions regarding this section of the panel session, could you please switch on your microphone or use raise hand button so we can see you and answer? Also, Isabella, we had one question in the chat. So could you please comment?
If I may, maybe I can intervene a bit on the question of the added value, because it's the main, I guess, questions on this, and then I will leave also Isabella to
yeah, great. Thank you. Yes, that is the question.
First of all, you know, the justification that the added value of the participation of program countries not associated to the program. It's something in particular for the question and the situation of Ukraine. Of course, we cannot support activities directly in that country, in the front country, because of course they are not eligible, but they can fully participate as a partner in case we can see in the project that they can add a sort of example of best practice that was used in their country, and they can be developed in the project in the Erasmus Plus program, and it can be a share of information. Isabella was making an example, but I want to be a general one, and then maybe more specific for the Ukrainian situation. I don't know, a project based on football, with some federation organization in the Erasmus Plus program countries, And then they want to invite the Basketball American Federation, the NBA. So theoretically, we are football, we are basket, and nothing to do the two. Why? Maybe because we wanted to have a meeting, a mission on the United States. So theoretically, there is no sense on this. But then if you see that, for example, these projects on the football concern the good governance of the organization, the federation, the transfer of players, the way in which the organization, the federation are managed, and then you can see that the NBA Federation can have a sort of experience on this. I can really give an added value on the organization of the Football Federation in Europe. If it's really justified and well justified, this could be, for example, an idea. I make another example, maybe on the Ukrainian. There was a reference of the coach and training, for example, for the coaches. It's true that if there is a project on training of the coach, of dual career, the importance of education on this, in the Erasmus Plus as a program, countries associated to the program, it's important that the experience of the organization in Ukraine that they have can bring something to the project. We cannot finance directly coaches or training in Ukraine, but they have an experience on this field that they can share with the other organization in Europe. I make a very specific example because I know we are discussing with the National Olympic Committee of Ukraine about their project. If there is some partners in Europe, in EU member states and Erasmus Plus program countries, they are interested in promote the healthy lifestyle and the physical activity of children, of young people. And in Ukraine, you have a good experience on the Olympic Lab, this project that the National Olympic Committee is functioning since, I think, 2016 or 17. They have a huge experience on this, and they can share this experience in projects in Europe, in EU, on the Erasmus Plus program country, in how to create this idea of Olympics, of the promote of the healthy lifestyle in that country, and they can fully participate on this, and they can give an added value of the project based on their experience. So it's really important that you don't have, this is really a message for all the EU organization. It's not sufficient that you have an Ukrainian organization that you can justify the added value given the circumstances. You really need to discuss with them what they can bring to the project, what are their values and their experience and expertise that they can bring and they can share. In the case of the Olympic Lab, we cannot support the Olympic Lab in Ukraine as such directly, but they can be involved in the projects with all the other partners on the promotion of physical activity in the children, and some activities and some financial support can go in Ukraine in this exchange. So I hope that this is clear. Please pay attention on the EU organization to involve this organization. It's very important that you discuss with them exactly the added value they can bring to the projects on this. I don't know, Isabella, if you want to add something on this point. I hope that it was clear. I saw also a lot of requests from universities. We know that in Ukraine, universities are very, very active in the field of sport. We have several cooperation with them. So really, this is also important for them to be taken on board on the project, because they are really making a great work on the sport fields. I don't know if there are other questions on this part. So maybe we can move to the second part of our presentation. Isabella, I don't know who will be in charge of the presentation, if you answer.
Yes, it's Vincenzina.
Yeah, okay, hi, Enza.
Thank you very much, Luciano. Yes,
so please.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Isabella, the slides. Could you please move to the next slides? Thanks. No, it's not. Are you sure that it's, sorry, that it's...
Yes,
okay.
We still have 2 slides before
Yes.
Vincenzina steps in.
Yes.
In this session.
Yes.
Initially, we thought the Q&A would go at the end, so this was not such an issue. But just to clarify, the 2 roles that you can take in the Erasmus Plus projects. Yes, you can be a full partner. And that means you will take the responsibility to implement a work package or part of a work package. You would receive a share of the grant for that. You would need to report on the implementation. You would need to sign certain documents, perform certain activities, and including certain activities on the platform that is designed for the project management. You would be basically in charge. You can also participate in cooperation partnerships as associated partner. Yes, and the difference here is you will not receive any share of the fund, and you will not have the burden of reporting, for example, but you might still want to participate to add value to the project, and you could be potentially invited not to be the full partner, but to, for example, step in for one small activity. You will not receive a share of the budget for that. Yes, but you could be invited. And this way you gain experience in the implementation and management of EU-funded project. You gain experience in cooperation with project partners. And this might be also valuable for you. In fact, I hope I can show you that the Ukrainian organizations participated since 2015 in both roles. Yes, in blue you can see when they were full partners, and in orange you can see when they were associated partners. So last year, for example, we had 2 organizations. So you have a certain expertise already in-house on this type of participation. And now I will.
If I may, sorry, Jens.
No problem.
No,
yes.
Because there was some question about the lump sum and the associated partners, so I will reply, but Isabella, please, if you want to add something. In fact, once you are part of the application and you have been selected, so it has been demonstrated that your added value is justified, that you are part, so you will be a full partner in the distribution of the grant. You will be, I don't know, if in the work packages, there were, I don't know, 4 work packages, and the Ukrainian organizations is in part involved in work package 2 and 3 with a certain amount, this amount is belong to this organization, Ukrainian organization, is part of the distribution of the grants. So you will be in full responsible of this part of the work packages of the budget, and you will receive this what was mentioned in the sharing of the budget. Of course, you have to sign normally an internal agreement with the other partners, but once you are being recognized, you are a full partner, you receive part of the grants, and you will be responsible in the implementation of the part of the work packages in which you are identified in the field. Okay, so this is it's very important. There is no limitation. This is exactly what is in the work package. As Isabella was mentioning, if in case this added value is not justified, in this case, we will cancel the participation of this organization, and the budget we will have to see if it will be reduced or re-affected. It depends, of course, on the different activities. And for the associated partners, it was mentioned by Svetlana, is you need a PIC to apply whatever you are associated and full. But this is, we'll see afterwards. But if you are associated and you are selected, you don't need to validate the PIC. So you don't need to upload all the documents to justify your legal existence. It's sufficient just to have a PIC that you can I think it takes a few minutes to have a peek at the beginning. You don't need to validate afterwards. Isabella, for the lump sum, it's okay, it's clear, or you want to add something?
Thank you very much, Luciano. It's perfect. I think we have answered everything in the chat for the moment.
Okay,
thank you.
Good. So, Enza, sorry. Please.
No problem. Thanks, Luciano. Yes, and if you wanted to apply for a call for proposal under the program Erasmus Plus Sport, the application must be prepared and completed electronically in the funding and the tenders portal of the European Commission. So here that all these slides where to find the calls. All the agencies' call for proposals, as I said, are published in the funding and the tenders portal. This is the system. Here you have the direct link. So you have to click on this link. And then you will see that you can start the search. So click on search funding and tenders, and then you can put here Erasmus, for example, Sport 2023, but just you can put, for example, the keywords sport. And then you have the submission status of the call for proposal, forthcoming, open for submission, or closed. So if you want to apply for this year, you have to click open for submission. And once done, you will see then on the right part of this page, you will see the list of the different topics. In this case, the most appropriate for you is cooperation partnership. So select cooperation partnership, this topic. Make sure to select the right one, because otherwise you have, in case you do a mistake, you have to withdraw the application, and then you have to restart a new one. Next slides, thanks. So what do you need for submitting an application? In order to take part, you need to have a valid EU login and the PIC mentioned before by Luciano. So if you have the PIC, it's the participant identification code, and in case you have already this code, you don't have to register again. The PIC does not expire. So if you are, for example, a beneficiary of another European Union project, you can use the same. You receive the PIC. So if you are a new applicant, you have to register, and then I will show you what you have to do. Please. So in case for you, if you are a new applicant, on the home page of the funding and the tenders portal, you will see here how to participate in 5 steps. And you can, first of all, you have to create an account, and only then you can register your organization. Once registered, you will receive a notification by the participant portal with this code. So this is just the procedure, but this is mandatory for applying, and without this you cannot participate to the call. You cannot submit your proposal. Thank you, Isabel. So if your proposal involves a consortium, you may need to find project partners. And here, during my presentation, I will show you some ways, okay, to find project partners. So first of all, for example, you can go in the funding and tenders portal of the European Commission. You can click here on how to participate, and then you will see that there is this partner search. Let's see what you have to do in order to search this partner. You will see that there are different criteria. For example, you can insert here the right program, in this case Erasmus Plus program. And you can put also the topic, the action, okay, in this case, cooperation partnership. You can also put the country and type a city. The names of the city and the organization can appear or in English on the official language of the organization, and this depends on how it was registered. Please, next slides. Thanks, Isabel. So based on the criteria that you have inserted before, you have here a list of the organization. Here, for example, we just put a simulation. You have a list of the organization in Italy. On the right part, you have here the organization, and in order to display the details of an organization, you have just to click on organization. Let's see what happens then. Once clicked on organization, you will see then you can contact the organization that you have selected. And in particular, you can contact the legal entity appointed representative, the leader of the organization. And here you can put your message. In the funding and the tenders portal, you can also click on publish it, partner search. And if you click on this button, you will find a list of topics in which the organization has an interest, and for which they are currently searching for partners. The owner of a profile may also publish offer, interest announcement for one or more of the open forthcoming topics of a call on the portal. So this means that if you have created or you have a profile, you may publish an expertise request announcement and make it visible to other users. Or you may publish an expertise offer announcement and make it visible to other users, the other users. So for more information and a step-by-step on how to manage your organization partner search or publish or unpublish your partner search, you can go in the funding and the tenders portal, section IT how to participate, and then click find the partners. And here you have the direct link. So this is, thanks Isabel for the next one. So this, it was, what I showed, it was one way, okay, for searching partners, but there are others way to find partners. You can find, for example, inspiration and potential project partners in the European, in the Erasmus Plus project results platform, where all the funded European projects under this program as Erasmus Plus are published. So here you have the link of this platform. And then you can just do a search for the project results. You will see then here you have you can search, for example, for this action, a collaborative partnership project. You can put, for example, according to the status, in this case, it can be ongoing. You can put the call here, activity here, country, and the organization type, for example, association, sport club, sport federation, etc., etc. So at least for the search, you have just to put at least one criteria, but the best is to fill in all of these criteria. Thanks, Isabel. And in this platform, once you have did the search, you can access the project data. And you could see here it's just an example. When you have found the project, you will have the website here of the organization and the contact details of the coordinator and a summary also of the project. So this was another way. You can also find the project partners through this by Connects Me, which is a mobile application which facilitates the network. This application is open from the Sport Info Day, which took place on the 30 January 2023, and it will be open until the call deadline, which is fixed on the 22 March of this year. You can use it to meet other participants and exchange views with potential partners. But for this, you have to create a profile, and then you can take advantage of this opportunity. Next slides, and in the next slides, yes, now we can see how it works, this mobile application. Once you have installed this application, you can post your question or comments. And you can here, you have the icon participant, you can connect with other participants and interact with them. Okay, and then this was my presentation. I don't know if you have questions for this part.
I don't see in the chat any questions on this.
Yeah.
It's straightforward. In fact, it's technical to register. So it's clear that everyone needs a pick. And of course, then it depends if it's a select or no, if it's a full partner or associated partners, they need to validate. For the looks, for the partnership, these are the main tool, but I hope today also you will have the opportunity to discuss with the organization from EU member states and Erasmus Plus program countries to associated to the program to discuss potential cooperation and application. See new message. Okay, I don't know.
If I may,
yeah, please.
If I may just here one little hint, the meeting code is stated on the slide. When you connect to Connects Me, you have to type Sport 2023, and that allows you to join.
Thank you, Isabella. Yes, this is the password. Yes. Yes, Connects Me. Yes.
Just maybe a very small comment from my side. I really encourage the participants to use this Connects Me. It's a very good networking tool, and please use, since it is still open. And we, in fact, didn't know that it is open for all participants, not only for the participants of the Info Day. It would be great also to promote this kind of tool for everybody. It is really a very useful one. Thank you.
Exactly. We always try to keep open until the deadline of the application so that they can continue to exchange message and proposals. Okay, so maybe we can go to the last part.
Yes, and the last part, yes, of the agenda, we have what happens beyond submission. As I said at the beginning, the application is submitted electronically, prepared electronically via the funding and the tenders opportunities portal. And then the next step is about the selection. The selection process is done by our agency, EACEA, but it's supported by external independent evaluators. And then the next step is the notification of the results. And then for the successful proposal, there will be another step, which is called the grant agreement preparation. Yes, and then more documents and other information will be requested. And this is the indicative roadmap about the full process, the publication. So we had the publication of the 2023 call in January of this year. The deadline for submission is on the 22nd March. And then there will be the step about the eligibility criteria check in March. Between April and August, there will be the evaluation process. And in August, we'll have the selection of the results and the information to applicants. And between September and December, the grant agreement preparation for the successful proposal. And yes, and then with the signature of the grant agreements. Then after the grant agreement signature, the project can be implemented. It can be started with implementation. And this is another step, just thinking about the future. This is just some step which is only for the project which will be selected. So if your proposal is successful, you will be contacted by the Central Validation Service, REA, for the validation of your PIC registration data. Because here the PIC at the beginning, when you apply for a proposal for the application, you have just the registration, but this is not validated. But for the application, should be in status the PIC declared. So the validation is needed only for some type of participant, for the beneficiaries, which are part of the consortium, including the coordinator, and for the affiliated entities, third parties. It's not needed, for example, for associated partners, subcontractors, or other participants. So in case we had before the question about the associated partner, they have just to register, and that's all. So in case you will be in this, you are selected, the Central Validation Service will contact the person who registered the organization and ask them to upload official supporting documents. And this is done by always the funding and tenders portal via the My Organization page. They list the documents that you have to provide and to upload in the system will be indicated, listed in this notification that you will receive. So this is the part concerning the PIC validation. Another important step, which is in parallel to the validation of the PIC, it's about the LEAR appointment. it's always the central validation service who will contact you to appoint your dealer with the person. It's normally an administrative staff member in the administration, in the organization, and it's appointed by the legal representative of the organization. It can be the CEO or a rector for the university, or director general, or a president, for example, for an association. Let's see just very fast what are the tasks. The task of the leader is to manage the legal and the financial information of the organization in the funding and tenders portal, and to provide and update the list of persons in the organization who will be authorized at the end to sign the grant agreement, the financial statement. So this step is very important, because without the peak validation and without the leader appointment and the validation, the grant agreement cannot be signed. So for more information, you can find, we put here the link for the peak validation and the leader appointment and the validation. I think that it's all from my side. In case you have question, then you can send them. And now I think it's for you, Isabel. You want to conclude the presentation? Yes, very briefly. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
The last words, if you are amongst the I wanted to say the lucky ones, but actually it's not like, if you are amongst the ones selected and you are cooperating with other partners, and I know that you were asking about the cooperation arrangements. Yes, you are advised, very strongly advised, to have cooperation arrangements that are put down in writing with the other partners, and state there under which conditions you will receive your installment, for example, what are your obligations, etc. Put it all in writing, and then it should be all right for the cooperation later on. We have seen, unfortunately now, when preparing the grant agreements of some of the selected projects, that it is not always so easy. So the partners were found during the partner search phase, and then the projects were put together and they were selected. But actually now, when it comes to signature of the grant agreement and then later on implementation, the cooperation sometimes does not go that smoothly. So in such situations, it is better when you have things stated in writing. They should, of course, any provisions of such cooperation arrangements should not go against the grant agreements that it's signed with the agency. Yes, we have seen certain also discrepancies. There should not be such discrepancies. So place certain attention on these details. Yes, that it is in line with what is stated in the grant agreement, that the share that you should receive equals the share that is also stated in the grant agreement and in the work packages. All this is important to arrange in front ahead of the implementation. And the last slide, what will happen if you were selected? In most cases, we do pay 70% of the grant that was awarded as a so-called pre-financing that allows you to kickstart your project and move ahead. In some cases, if the coordinator does not have a sufficient financial capacity, for example, the pre-financing is split into installments, and then we pay 35%, and after a while, another 35%. So you could be part of such consortium that receives less at the beginning and then has to apply. And this second pre-financing is also linked to a report. And once you have implemented your project, you need to submit the final report. You have 60 days from the project end to do that. And then we would have 90 days to analyze the report, ask you additional questions if needed, approve the report, and transfer you the final payment, so the outstanding amount that was awarded, provided that all the deliverables were submitted, work packages implemented, and all that we already stated. So I hope this prepares you well for the successful path. And we are still, of course, open for questions. Thank you for your attention.
If I may also to summarize, and maybe if someone can give again some technical, Isabella or Enza, about the different phase, because so when an Ukrainian organization is selected as a full partner, so they need to validate the PIC. This is the first step. It's very important. Of course, we are not an EU member state, so it means that all documents, all things must be translated in English when you send. So you have to upload the original and the translation. This is very important. And in parallel, the gap phase, what we call the gap phase, so the grant agreement preparation is starting into the system. And the main actor is, of course, the coordinator, because it's responsible also to upload a lot of information on this, but also the partners, because as it was mentioned by the colleagues, it's very important that they can nominate the leader and the PL sign, so the person who will be in charge then to sign the declaration of honor and some other documents. And unfortunately, sometimes without this, it's not possible then to finalize the application phase. So I don't know if someone can quickly say what is in the gap phase at the moment in which, what are the tasks that they have with the partners together with the coordinator, because I think it's important that also they know. I don't know if Isabella or you are muted, or maybe Enza, but just really quickly to recall.
Yes, there's the, you mean, Luciano, yes, I can say this. What are the main tasks for?
Sorry?
Luciano, sorry,
yeah.
Can you please, yes? You want to do a summary about the different steps in case?
No, just when in the gap, what is the partners they have to do?
Ah, yes, I can do the partners. Okay, yes. So this is very important. Yes. In case we start from the beginning. Also, allora, for the PIC. The PIC, it's not just for the coordinator who normally prepare the application, but each beneficiary should register in the participant register of the European Commission and needs this PIC. So if the project will be selected, it will be the step which is called grant agreement preparation. And then they will be contacted, each beneficiary of the consortium will be contacted by REA, by the Central Validation Service, to provide the documents for the validation of this PIC. In practice, this means that when they register, they provide, for example, some data about their organization, and then they have to provide documents. They have to upload documents in the platform for proving this data in order to be validated. Okay, so this is for the PIC. At the same time, there is this parallel validation about the LEAR. The LEAR is it's something which is very important because it's nominated, it's appointed by the legal representative, by the legal of the organization, the legal representative of the organization. Okay, and but all these documents, they are listed in the notification that they receive from this service. And in case in the future they will need help, they can contact contact in any case the PO, the project officer, and at the same time they can interact in this platform for sending message to directly to the validation central service. I hope that it's
thank you.
clear.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Enza. I want just to clarify two things on the chat.
Yes.
First of all, for the Connect Me, I mean, we have the access. So I don't know, probably something that it depends on someone who have to download for the first time. But I already sent immediately a message to check with my colleague. So I hope that an answer before. Otherwise, we will, through the Svetlana and the other colleagues, we will inform all the participants. And then for the cooperation partnership, why is only open to cooperation partnerships? But for the small, this was, of course, a decision from the Commission. As you know, this action we shared with the national agency because only sport is centralized, is managed by the executive agency in Brussels, but all the other fields in youth, education, schools are managed by the national agency. So that's why there was a decision to see that only the cooperation partnerships is open for the countries not associated to the program, because the small is a small amount, and it's true that it will be complicated to open to outside the European Union and the countries associated. And finally, for the not-for-profit European sport events, first of all, it was already like this in the past. It's always been only for the EU member states and country associated, because it was only bono beneficiary. It was also a medium event, and only the participant can be part of the participant organization in the event. So there is only one organization that must be from EU member states, and then and program Erasmus Plus program countries, and then the participant organization. So it was had always been like this. In the new program, it's true that we have a multi-beneficiary, but given that this event that must take place in the countries and the budget is for the European, it's not the international part of the budget. So that's why also for the moment, this action is not open from country outside. I mean, they can participate in the large events, but only as an additional participants, but they cannot receive any grant, they cannot be associated, they cannot be part of the events. But as I said at the beginning, for this action and for the action related to the capacity building, we are really discussing and trying to enlarge the participation to the third country, and in particular to the Eastern Partnerships area. So I think we are almost at the end. I don't know, Svetlana, if you have any other...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Luciano. Thank you to dear colleagues for the very detailed presentations, and also for timing that you're very much on time to come to also one of the important parts. And Vincentia and Isabella, our great thanks for all the details, insights, and also on how to prepare the proposals. And I'm sure that even though there are a lot of details already described by you and also in the program guide, it gives only the inspiration for everybody to apply and to continue working on this action. Like, for example, all organization having its business plan, and also all of you who were students once and you write your bachelor thesis, master thesis, PhD thesis, and it's also a kind of project writing. Of course, there is a specific language, but still it is manageable to learn how to do it together. And there are a lot of already like open resources for that, like even the video one. And also would like to highlight that just you need, all Ukrainian organizations, first of all, need to do a kind of a SWOT analysis of the strong part of yours, innovations you have, then the needs you have, and the opportunities and the threats and the risks, and especially now. But in any case, it is possible, and this is proved by a number of organizations already participating in the program. Like we had in strategic partnership, 44 organizations participating in the previous stage. So it means that we have already a lot of potential to join in.